Welcome to this module on controlling workers. In this module, we are going to learn about the workforce. The workforce in the Roman Empire during the late period is divided into three categories. 1. The rural labor force. 2. The migrant workers. 3. The casual laborers. In the first category, that is the rural labor force, the rural labor force, many were permanently employed on the large estates, workers in the industrial and mining establishments. These people are the permanent employees. Where do they work? They work in the large estates, they work in the industries, they work in the mining establishments. Those people or the labor force which is employed in the large estates, industrial sector and mining establishment permanently is known as rural labor force. Coming to the next category, that is the migrant workers. The migrant workers are the labor for the grain and oil harvest, for the building industry, self-employed artisans who, it is said, were better fed than the wage laborers. So the second category of workers are involved regarding the grain, olive harvesting, then building industry, construction activity, then we have the self-employed artisans who, it was said, were better fed than the wage laborers. Third category comes is the casual laborers. A large number of casual laborers, especially in the big cities, many thousands of slaves that were still found all over the Western Empire in particular. So the third category of people who are casual labor, especially in the big cities where we have many thousands of slaves that were still found all over the Western Empire in particular. So the workforce is divided into three categories. 1. The labor, rural labor, who were employed permanently in the large estates, in the industrial areas or in the industries, mining establishments. The second category, those who are involved, those who are migrant workers involved in grain, olive harvest, building industry, construction activity, self-employed artisans. These people used to take care of their workers better than the wage laborers. And last category, that is the casual laborers, the mass of the casual laborers, especially in the big cities, many thousands of slaves that were still found all over the Western Empire in particular. These are the different types of workforces or division of workers in the late Roman Empire. One writer in the early 5th century, the historian Olympiodorus, who was also an ambassador, tells us that aristocracy based in the city of Rome drew an annual income of up to 4,000 lbs of gold from their estates, not counting the produce they consumed directly. It is a record which was made by a historian known as Olympiodorus, who talks about the wealth of the aristocratic families which are living in the city of Rome, where they have gold from their estates and also living apart from what they are consuming. The monetary system of the late empire briefly broke with the silver based currencies of the first 3 centuries because the Spanish silver mines were exhausted and government ran out of sufficient stocks of the metal to support the stable coinage in silver. So one, they had huge income. Two, the monetary system of the late empire changed. Why did it change? Because there is an exhausting of the required metal. They could not have sufficient stock for the government to make with that metal to support the coinage in silver. Constantine founded the new monetary system on gold, and that were vast amounts of this in circulation throughout the late antiquity period. So who introduced the new monetary system with gold? That is the Constantine. The late Roman bureaucracy, both the higher and the middle echelons, was comparatively affluent group because it drew the bulk of its salary in gold and invested much of this in buying up assets like land. One, they have payments in gold because there is shortage of silver. It is Constantine, as you can see him on the figure, is the one who made this new monetary system with gold. So they have vast amounts of this money in circulation till the late antiquity period. So the late Roman bureaucracy earned, even the middle class group earned in gold. Their salary is paid in gold. So they invested this amount of money by buying the assets like land. So they became very, very rich. There was, of course, a great deal of corruption, especially in the judicial system and in the administration of military supplies. The extortion of the higher bureaucracy and the greed of the provincial governors were proverbial, were present. There is a lot of corruption during that period. But the government intervened repeatedly to curb these forms of corruption. We only know about them in the first place because of the laws that tried to put an end to them, and because historians and other members of the intelligentsia denounced such practices. So it is very clearly evident there existed a form of corruption in the Roman administration. So the government tried to curb this by bringing certain laws. We came to know this because we understand that the laws tried to put an end to them, and because historians and other members of the intelligent group section denounced, they did not accept such kind of practices, which means corruption still existed even though the government tried to curb it through bringing different kinds of laws. Stay tuned. We'll catch you in the next section.